of this day in Black baseball history. How's everybody doing this evening? I'm just coming to you live and going to talk to you a little bit about baseball tonight. So hopefully everybody is ready to go. And let me get set up here, make sure my microphone's in the right place. And I am about to start talking. Hey, I just want to let you know that this is another edition, right, of this ongoing conversation that never stops. I guess it's going to stop one day, but right now is not that day. So right at this moment, we're talking a lot of baseball. So guys, you know the drill. If you come in and you let me know that you're here. By all means, let me know where you're joining from. That's always good. And then also, if you like what's going on here, go ahead and subscribe. I don't know if you're like me. I'm spending a lot of time when I go to YouTube. I'm looking for something that I can listen to that's enlightening, maybe something that will teach me something that's enjoyable. So I'm always searching for something. And I don't know, maybe you're the same way. Maybe tonight there's going to be people who I'm just popping into their broadcasts and this is the first time seeing me. So what I try to do is give good content. And I don't have commercials right now, so if you're listening to me, you don't have to stop and skip through it and all of that. But yeah, so by all means, subscribe, and we're going to keep it growing. We are going toward the Hank Aaron 755 number in subscribers. Hopefully we can make it this week. So with a little of your help, I can get there. 755 is the magic number for subscribers for me now. I started a little less than a year ago, and so I've been building this community. And so guys, if you come in, stay a while. If you like what's going on, come on back. That's what I would say. So this is the March, actually no, March is over now. So this is going to be April 1st, 2026 edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. So we're going to get right into it, and hopefully you enjoy some of this history. Now, I would tell you, yesterday I got a lot of response from when I talked about Mae West and her movie I'm No Angel, and Mule Suttles being in that movie. Got a lot of response from that. People send me emails and things like that. So it's always good to provide information that you typically can't get. And if you miss that, you can always go back and listen to the rebroadcast, right? And I certainly leave those up. And I'm going to leave this one up too. So guys, I do want to thank you for tuning in. I tried to come on a little bit earlier today because a lot of my people in the East Coast, they have to go to bed. Some of them have to work, and some of them have to travel early in the morning. So I try to get on as early as I can. It works out really good for the people on the West Coast, but East Coast, we kind of struggle a little bit. Of course, in the Midwest is where I am, and I try to service everybody if I can to find a convenient time. But because I do work, it's kind of tough. I get in and I just run here and do my best. So guys, if you like what's going on here, once again, subscribe. And so I'm getting ready to go to work with what I do here, okay? So remember, this is the April 1st, 2026 edition of This Day in Black Baseball History, where we go back and I give you important things that have happened in the history of Black baseball, and that on this date, all right? So let's go back to April 1st, 1906. And that date, the Philadelphia Giants racked up 15 hits and knocked off the Brighton team in New York with a final score of 10-4. And boy, lots of players started the season off well. Dan McClellan, good hitting pitcher, lefty, picked up 3 hits and scored a pair of runs. And Nate Harris, who was new to the Philadelphia Giants in 1906, because Grand Home Run Johnson left and went to the Brooklyn Royal Giants, and he was the shortstop from 1905. So they brought in Nate Harris. Nate Harris turned out to be a wonderful player. So Nate Harris picked up 3 hits and scored a pair of runs. And then Bill Monroe, man, the legendary Bill Monroe. I talk about this guy. I happen to think, and I wasn't the only one, that this guy was the greatest third baseman of that generation. And I grew up hearing about Pie Traynor. Man, I'm telling you, Pie Traynor was nothing compared to Bill Monroe. He was a superb player. And Saul White thought that he was the greatest player that he had ever managed. So that's saying a lot, because Saul White managed some pretty good ball players, right? And he managed Rube Foster and John Henry Lloyd, those guys in the Hall of Fame. But nobody's talking about Bill Monroe. And that's the kind of conversation we like to change. So Bill Monroe hit safely a trio of times and scored twice. And one of his hits was a home run. The only guy hit a home run that day. That was Bill Monroe. Doesn't surprise me. Maybe it surprises you. All right. So let me see what somebody says. So I'm tuning in from home of the O's. Okay, that's got to be Baltimore. And let's see. Somebody says hello. So hopefully you're still here. And then somebody says, hope you have a good day. Well, I'm having a great day. And guys, you'll have a great day if you keep listening to this broadcast. All right. So let's keep it going. That was the other thing I might mention on that particular game with the Philadelphia Giants, Emmett Bowman, a 40-game winner from 1905, picked up where he left off last season and tossed a seven-hitter for the win. And how about that? And there were 4,300 fans there for that game on April the 1st, 1906 in New York City at Brighton Field. All right, so let's go. Let's jump a few years. April 1st, 1934. And how about this? The New York Black Yankees beat manager Joe Press's Bay Parkway team at Uramis Field by a 7-4 score. And the Black Yankees, boy, they were in midseason form, almost like the Philadelphia Giants were, after playing a winter of baseball in Puerto Rico. So George Scales, who did not go to Puerto Rico, by the way, he was one of the leading hitters. He was the manager. He went 3 for 3 with a double and scored a run. And then Walter Rev Kennedy. I wonder why they called him Rev, like Reverend. I don't know if he was preaching to the players all the time. I don't know what they called him. But anyway, somebody says he went 2 for 3 with a pair of doubles and scored 2 runs. And of course, John Next Stanley was on the mound. He struck out 8 for the win. So that was the New York Black Yankees. I don't know if you knew that, excuse me, Bill Bojangles Robinson had money invested in the New York Black Yankees. And boy, George Scales was certainly a great player. And he is somebody that came up for, he was on the Hall of Fame list in 2021, and he did not get inducted. Now, George Scales is a second baseman. Would you believe there is no second baseman, true second baseman from the Negro Baseball Leagues has ever been inducted in the Cooperstown Hall of Fame? Not one. And there are some guys from the major leagues. I think of Al Oliver, for one, that is not getting any love. And he played at the major league level with Pittsburgh and a few other teams. But in the Negro Leagues, you got Newt Allen, you got George Scales. Those two guys, for me, don't forget Bingo DeMoss too. So there's some good ones in the Negro Leagues that just don't get any love. And George Scales would be one of those, but you see he had a great game in this game. So somebody says, I live 5 minutes from Memorial Stadium. Oh, okay, Memorial Stadium. Man, that was the old stadium where the O's. I went by that stadium. I think I was on tour in 1992, maybe 93. And of course, the Orioles weren't playing there anymore. I'm almost sure at that particular time, but I did go by that park and I did get a chance to see it. But I used to follow the Orioles a lot during the 1960s. I was a kid listening to the radio, and man, they used to just kill the Royals. Because they would come into Kansas City, the Royals can have a 5-run lead in the ninth and lose it, right? They can bring in their best reliever and still lose it. Back in that time, they had a submarine pitcher by the name of Ted Abernathy. So, guys, I've been following baseball for a long time, but yeah, so say they redeveloped it into an apartment for senior living. All right. Hey, one time I wrote a poem, and I'll have to recite it one time about a baseball field and being like an old man. And when I put this poem together, it was they were trying to replace the baseball field with apartments. If I had it in front of me, I would read it. I don't have it submitted to memory all the way because I've just wrote it and I don't speak on it too often. So, but it's a very nice poem that really brings the point home, especially when they turn the ball field into senior living or just apartments, period, right? All right, so let's keep it going here. Let's go to April 1st, 1913. So now we're going to go backwards now. So Norman Robinson, an infielder with the Birmingham Black Barons, Baltimore Elite Giants, And let's see. Um, from 1939 1948 is born in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And he had a brother named Frazier Robinson who caught for the Baltimore Elite Giants. Now notice I say elite because that's what it really is. There are some people out here trying to push the narrative that the team was called the Elites. Well, if you can't read, you probably think it's the Elites, but what the hell is an elite? You know, you look at the word and you say, I'm putting a baseball team together. I want people to think of us as being elite, not an elite. So, hey, it's it's like when I go, sometimes I go to different churches and I hear people speaking, and instead of saying sword, they say sword. It's the same kind of ridiculous stuff. It's the pronunciation of the word is sword and it's not sword. And also, how about this one? It's elite giants, it's not elite giants. Okay, just want to make sure you know that. If you listen to me, guys, you're going to walk away with stronger education on these teams, right? So I'm just trying to help you get it right because I'm trying to get it right. Okay. So anyway, I will tell you this: I have a photograph of those two guys together that I've never released. And it came from Maurice Doolittle Young, who was also from Oklahoma, who knew their parents. And he had a photograph, and they're sitting by a car, and they're wearing baseball uniforms. That's Norman and Frazier, and they're wearing baseball uniforms, and it's like they're probably teenagers. And one of these days, I'm going to release that picture in a book. All right, and I have to be careful when I release pictures because, man, stuff gets stolen from me all the time. So I am very cautious about how I release things to the public, so at least I get credit for it. All right. So all right then. So that is Norman Robinson. He actually played for the Kansas City Monarchs second team in 1939. I used to have that picture. I haven't seen it for a while. Maybe it's somewhere in my collection, but John Donaldson was on that team, and so was George Giles. All right, so we're going to keep it going. Let's go back. Now we're going to go backtracking to April 1st, 1923. So I'm just jumping around tonight. Sorry about that, guys. I usually try to go in sequence, but I'm kind of jumping around tonight. So once again, if you're joining, you're new, by all means subscribe or just stay here and listen and see if you like this kind of conversation, right? Okay, so we're going to go April 1st, 1923. The New York Lincoln Giants take both ends of a doubleheader. The first one over the Highbridge team, which was won 2-0, and that was on the opener, and that was the opening game. And they won that on doubles by Robert Judy Gans, Clint Thomas, and Oliver Marcel. Man, those are some great names in black baseball. And I happened to interview Clint Thomas. I went to his house there many years ago down, I think it was Charleston, South Carolina. And I was at his house down there and had a chance to talk to him. And I actually recorded that broadcast, or that wasn't a broadcast. I recorded that interview, and I have that interview in my collection. So that's Clint Thomas. Yeah, and then, of course, Robert Judy Gans. He was from Washington, Pennsylvania. Anybody ever traveled through there? Washington, Pennsylvania, right? Before you get to the Allegheny Mountains there. And so anyway, Robert Judy Gant, and he was quite the football player too. I don't know if you knew that. And of course, Oliver Marcel, he was a tremendous third baseman. And I mentioned his son yesterday, Ziggy Marcel, playing for the Harlem Globetrotters. That was in yesterday's broadcast. And Oliver Marcel ended up going out to Colorado with the Miami Giants and ended up staying there. And he passed away in Colorado, Denver, Colorado, to be precise. Okay, so just in case you didn't know this, I just try to bounce around and give you a lot of history. And this is all stuff in my head. I don't read everything, but I do have my baseball facts, and then I just start going with my memory, right? Things I know and things that I like to talk about. Okay, and so they won the first game, and then they captured the second game as well by an 8-1 score over the Patterson Silk Sox in game 2, okay? And Clint Thomas hit a home run in that game. So Clint Thomas had an excellent day. And how about this? Bill Holland tossed 5 scoreless innings and struck out 6 for the win. And both of those games were played at the Catholic Protectory. And that it was in New York. And so that is the New York Lincoln Giants, who organized in 1911. Hey, I don't know if you knew this, but what's the guy, McMahon, who runs, uh, was it WWF? Somebody know? Who's a wrestling fan out there? WWF, what is it? I think it's WWF, right? And he runs that wrestling fan. Anyway, his grandfather was the owner of the Lincoln Giants. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, so his grandfather, uh, Jess McMahon, was the owner of that black baseball team. And actually, he had been trying to get his hands in the black baseball since I know 1906, when he started the Philadelphia Quaker Giants and really upset the apple cart by taking away a lot of really good players. One of those players being Bill Monroe, who left the Philadelphia Giants to go join the Philadelphia Quaker Giants because he got more money jumping over there with McMahon, Jess McMahon. So I don't know if you knew that, right? So all right, so we got any wrestling fans out here who know about all of that? You know about the McMahon, right? Enterprise. And so anyway, yeah. So this some of these legacies go way back, and it's been my pleasure to kind of follow them along the way. All right. So let's see. I got maybe I'll give you maybe one more. How about this one? Um, According to the Coatesville Record, and in talking to Forbes, he's the sports editor of the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania Patriot. Oscar Charleston of the Harrisburg Giants, they say he's rather touchy. And they were discussing him in the newspaper. And they said he's touchy about being written up in the newspapers. And then they went on to say he's rather educated and more refined than the average colored ball player. I'm not sure what that meant, um, because there were lots of college ball players in black baseball. So, and Charleston wasn't one of them. So I'm not sure how much they really knew. But Charleston was pretty vocal. And Charleston, they said Charleston takes exceptions. So we were informed to any sports writer mimicking his dialect. Now, what they would do is these sports writers, they would listen to a conversation, then they would go back and write it in dialect, right? And it wouldn't, the ball players weren't talking in dialect, but that's what they would do to make these ball players look stupid. They didn't write about white players in dialect, but they did this quite a bit to black ball players. And there's no end to that. And actually, I saw people doing that as late as the 1980s, and I was trying to correct them because there's a book, and a guy did an interview with Willie Brown, and it was in the Kansas City Star newspaper, and he did the same thing that Oscar Charleston would say, "Don't do that to me," back in the 1920s. So how about that? That was April 1st, 1925, that we're talking about. Of course, Charleston at that particular time was managing the Harrisburg Giants and had been managing them for a couple of years in the Eastern Colored League. And when I think about it, I think about some of the things when I was working with the Kansas City Royals that I used to see going in the clubhouse. And I remember it was a particular game where the Orioles were in town. And see, some ball players are more vocal than others. That's one thing I noticed. And so Frank Robinson was, I don't know if he was a manager then, but he might have been a coach. I think Ripken was a manager. The older Ripken was a manager. Frank Robinson might have been a coach. But anyway, after the game, the reporters rushed into the clubhouse, and instead of going to the black guy who had a great game, they went to the white guy that they just wanted to interview, who hadn't done anything that night. And I can remember Frank Robinson yelling across the room, "Why don't you interview him? He was the one who had the best night. He was the one who had the good night. Why don't you interview him?" And he was very vocal about it. And you don't forget things like that, because too often people will not give some of these African American baseball players the respect that they're due. And they have a story, a narrative they want to give. And if the Orioles came in town, if a guy had a great night, a lot of times they wouldn't even go to that guy. They go right over to Ripken, right? Somebody like that, and start talking to him, and he might not have done anything. So I did see Frank Robinson trying to straighten them out. I even saw Bo Jackson one night. There was a guy, his name was Don Fortune, who's in Kansas City, and he had a sports talk program. And man, he used to, oh man, he'd talk about the ball players really bad. And so the ball players are listening to this, and then other people would tell them and stuff like that. So Don Fortune just happened to come into the clubhouse one day. Now, if you're gonna be talking about guys that bad, you don't need to bring your ass in the club in the in the locker room, because that's their domain. So anyway, he came into the locker room, man. I remember Bo Jackson getting on him something awful, but he had been having a field day on his radio program. And as long as he didn't come in the clubhouse, you didn't see him around the park, you couldn't confront him, right? But when he came in that clubhouse, man, that was one trip that I think that I don't think I saw him in the clubhouse after that, right? There was another guy named Ed Beeler. He used to have a sports program, and he would dog ball players out all the time. But guess what? Ed Beeler was smart enough to know, don't ever come in that clubhouse. Don't even go out to the park. So I never saw Ed Beeler at the park. I saw him at the radio station. I don't know if I interviewed with Ed Beeler. I did do interviews with Don Fortune, but never at the ballpark. So, and that's when I was assistant director for public relations for the Kansas City Royals. A lot of people don't know that I did that. All right then. So let's go. I have one more, and then I am through for the evening. April 1st, 1954. The Kansas City Call newspaper reported that baseball history was made back on March 26th, so that's a few days earlier, when the Atlanta Crackers of the Southern Association signed its first African American player, 27-year-old Nate Peoples, and manager Whitlow Wyatt showered praise on the 6 foot 1 inch outfielder. His exact words was, "I can't pass over a boy who has had the kind of spring training Nate has had. He has been our best outfielder and has impressed me with his speed, arm, and hitting power." And so Nate Peoples, have you ever heard of Nate Peoples? I went down to Memphis and interviewed Nate Peoples. And so I knew Nate. And so, well, let me tell you a little bit about Nate. Okay. So after a season with the Kansas City Monarchs, uh, he started off with the Memphis Red Sox. Then he came over, the Monarchs picked him up. So after a season with the Kansas City Monarchs, he ended up being released, and he went to the Indianapolis Clowns, had a great season there. Then the Brooklyn Dodgers kind of picked him up on their radar. And so they picked him up, signed him, and formed him out to the 3I League, where he played for Keokuk, Iowa, and Evansville, Indiana. And how about this? By the time he gets to Atlanta in 1954, the Atlanta Black Crackers, in 9 exhibition games, this guy batted .439. And guess what? We're not even talking about him. So this gives me an opportunity to talk about him. How about that? So anyway, that is Nate Peoples, right? So just another name you can add to your repertoire of Negro League greats, and be sure and talk about those guys. So anyway, that does it for me. I just wanted to come on tonight and give you another live broadcast. So just want to say hello to everybody who's joined me, and stay a minute. I understand when you come into these broadcasts, depending on what you're doing and why you're searching around, sometimes you can't stay that long. But if you do, hopefully, maybe you can come back by just subscribing, and that way you'll know when I'm on. If you decide you want to come back, come on back. We'd be happy to have you, right? And remember now, we're going for 755 subscribers. And this is the number we're going to try to hit this week. And that is what I call my Hank Aaron number. We just passed 733, which was the number of Hank Aaron's number for the most home runs any players hit in the National League, and that was 733. And so now we're going to 755 because, as you know, Hank Aaron finished up with the Milwaukee Brewers. All right, and that does it for me. So hopefully, guys, you've enjoyed this. I'm going to go here and work on some other things. I'm trying to finish off re-editing the book. Re-editing, how about that? A book that I'm working on. And so hopefully I can get that done soon, because I would love to get that on the market. In the meanwhile, my last book from 2023, and that's part of my series, the Great Team series, You can see that that's the Chicago Leland Giants, the 1910 season. Phil S. Dixon's American Baseball Chronicles, guys. And so anyway, thank you again. And I will be back tomorrow. And hopefully we'll see you. If not tomorrow, maybe soon, right? And when you come in, just let me know where you're joining from. And I had the guy from Baltimore. He let me know where he was coming from because he seemed to know a lot about baseball. And I appreciate that because he mentioned how they had taken the old Memorial Stadium and turned it into senior living, right? I guess everybody's got to live somewhere. So you got to, and those ballparks can take up a lot of space. You can build a lot of homes in there and apartments too. So, all right. So thank you guys. You have a nice evening, and I'll see you real soon with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. And this has been the April 1st, 2026 edition of this ongoing conversation that we refuse to let it go. All right. Have a nice evening. Bye.